The Contractor Center. Get your hands on a wide range of tools and equipment. Visit our store at 26 Shortwood Road or call us 876-344-8784 or 876-925-5700.
Welcome to COVID-19 and you. This year, it's widely expected that we will go to the polls as a people, but how are we going to do so in the midst of the COVID-19 pandemic? Will it be a summer election or an election in the fall? We're going to try to answer those questions today inside COVID-19 and you with the Director of Elections, Glasspool Brown. Welcome to COVID-19 and you, Mr. Brown.
Good to be here.
Are you ready?
We are preparing. We are trying to get there as quick as possible, but we are preparing.
You're not there yet?
Not there yet, but we are well advanced in our preparation.
What are the bases? What are the grounds left to be covered?
We have started a training process that is going fairly well, that we should be completed in a short order. We are purchasing all our equipment that we need. So we have a significant amount that has been done so far. So the main aspect of it that is left is completing the training of all election day workers. Bear in mind that we recruit in excess of 30,000 persons to assist in the process on election day. It's a combination of presiding officers, poll clerks, what we call one-day policemen, supervisors, and we're going to have another cadre of persons that we're going to recruit this year because of the COVID pandemic, what we will call sanitization team.
Okay.
So that will be an addition to what we normally do in an election.
So how far advanced are you in getting those numbers in?
All right. We had, because of the COVID pandemic, we had started preparation earlier this year, but we had to put it on pause. During the, I think what about the middle of March. Subsequent to that, we have now restarted the process. We are surprisingly, a significant amount of persons have indicated to us interest. We have in excess of 60,000 persons have indicated to us applying to be a part of the process, which is good.
Is that usually the norm?
Usually the norm, yeah. And so, as I said before, we have started the training process, and that should be completed in a short while.
As you recruit and train, what do you look for in people as potential presiding officers, poll clerks? What do you look for in them?
Right. What is critical for our presiding officers and our poll clerks? They must be 18 and over.
18
and over. And also they must be non-political. In order we won't recruit anybody who is deemed a political activist. So we go to a screening process, and we try at the best as possible to get persons who have at least high school training.
But I don't know if they still do it. The political parties would try to get as many of their persons, sleepers, they used to call them, to act as poll clerks and presiding officers.
They still do, but we have changed.
They still do.
They still attempt to do so.
Yes.
But we have changed our recruitment process. So you have to go through a vetting process, everybody that applies. And you have to physically come into offices to apply.
Yes.
Gone are the days when somebody just said in a list, so you choose on that list. So there's a vetting process that normally takes place, and as best as possible, you might not catch everybody, but we think we have catch a significant amount of those persons. So our recruitment process, the vetting process now eliminate a significant amount of those persons from the system.
Do the political party representatives participate in that? Because they know the laborites and the comrades better than you would ever do.
Not a part of the recruitment process or the training process, but the regulation allows us when just prior to election that we normally circulate the list for them to vet if they have any objection. But the objection has to be valid, not an objection because you assume that the person is aligned to a particular political party.
Right.
So you have to come with facts for us to have any impact on us making any change to that list. But we are required by law to circulate that list to them.
Okay. Now, COVID-19.
Right.
And how that is going to impact the organization of the elections. First time we're ever going to be having a general election. We have to accept that the COVID pandemic will be here for a while.
And certainly the next election will be done in that environment. It's going to impact significantly in terms of how we manage or operate an election. We have sort of break down the activity in 3 phases: the recruitment phase, the nomination day activity, and the election day activity. In terms of the recruitment phase, in ours, we have to be looking at how do we train our persons. The days where we normally put 50, 30, 40, 50, 60 persons in a classroom. That has now to be, we have to be training in a small group because we have to ensure that we maintain the physical distancing.
Yeah.
So it means that more training sessions would have to be held. On nomination day, we are working on the protocols. The upcoming nomination day, what you'll find happening is that the days when you have the large entourage following a potential candidate into a polling station will be over.
Oh.
In a sense
so
that
they can't show political muscle.
Not in the
day.
Well, they can on the day outside the nomination center or outside the area designated the nomination center. In a sense that what will be allowing to happen for the next nomination day is that the candidates will only be allowed to be accompanied by their 10 nominees, along with, and that nomination center will have the EOJ's personnel. What will happen that you have to adhere to the wearing of masks, your hands will be sanitized, and all the protocol that is agreed to, that will be agreed to between us and the Ministry of Health would have to be adhered to. We'll be taking a temperature check, etc. So it's a little bit different. In terms of the election day, you're going to see us.
Before you leave nomination day, previously what you would have are the nominees, the candidates, their nominees, their people who support their nominee from that particular list, with an entourage of supporters. You're saying now the nomination center will be now sterile zones.
That's correct. So they won't, that large entourage won't be allowed in the area of the nomination center.
Oh.
So and again, we'll be ramping up our public education program campaign in order to alert persons from before what will be required on the nomination day.
Good.
So all of that will be done.
Election day now.
And election day is what will happen is that again, the campaign will seek to encourage persons to come at different times. We're going to appeal to the electors that the election day lasts from 7 a.m. to 5 p.m. The norm is that a lot of persons turn out early in the morning. So if we're able to get our electors to stagger the time they come, they should be able to assist us with the physical distancing. In other words, what you find in most polling stations, by 12 o'clock everybody votes. After 12 to 5, there's a little trickle. So if you're able to get persons to stagger the time,
that is going to be difficult.
It's going to be difficult because we're going to try in terms of how, by just using the public education side of it to encourage persons to, rather than coming very early to stop in a line, given the COVID environment, why not come a little bit later in the day, come after 12 thereabouts, and then so the environment will be a bit more sterile in terms of less persons being there. So what will happen as you enter a polling station area, we'll have what we call a sanitization team. That's a new group of persons that we normally would not have in an election day. As you enter, that person will check for that you're wearing your mask, you sanitize your hand, and do a temperature check. And then they'll be directed up to the different polling stations. In the polling station, what will happen is that you will have the presiding officers and the poll clerks and the indoor agent. All of them will be in masks, all of them will be in gloves, and all of them the entire area will be sanitized. And that process will continue.
Won't you run into a legal problem though? Because it seems to me like you're now saying, for you to exercise your constitutional right as a voter, you must be wearing a mask.
No, I'm just saying to the public that you must adhere to the order of the government. The order of the government is that if you're going into public space, you ought to wear a mask. That's an order, based on my understanding of the order. So therefore, we are just saying to you that you should exercise or adhere to that.
If they're not wearing a mask, they will not be allowed to vote.
We're gonna encourage them. What will happen that in a normal cases we'll be providing masks. So if you don't have one, we'll provide you to remove that need for you to say you don't have one. All right? But as best as possible, we encourage you to abide by that order, come with your own mask. In a case where you don't have a mask, we'll, as best as possible, seek to give you one.
So let me play devil's advocate with you. As it is now raging in parts of the United States, this issue about wearing masks.
Right.
Yes? Someone says, as a citizen of Jamaica, I have a right to vote. I'm not going to accept from you and the Prime Minister, for good measure, that I must be wearing a mask. I'm practicing my social distance. I'm not going to wear a mask. I don't know if the mask you're giving me is clean or virus-free. I'm keeping my social distancing, and I demand that I be allowed to vote.
We are now in a phase of working out the protocol. But and you're correct in the sense that not wearing a mask, we cannot remove the person's legal right. But we are appealing to the elector in the sense that given what is happening, the environment that we operate, that we ask you to adhere to certain criteria in terms of entering our polling stations. But we're working on the finer details, which would maybe address that issue that if somebody insists of not wearing a mask, how do we treat that? That is being worked on. Okay. Hopefully before election day.
What about polling stations? You tend to have clusters of polling stations. In a school, you may have 7, 8, 9, 10 polling stations.
That's correct.
Now with the need for the distancing, you did say you're going to appeal people to stagger.
Right.
Well, are you now going to need to have more polling stations?
So what we're looking at now is basically do have a wider spreading out of the polling station. So for example, 10 to 15, those are normally housed in a school environment.
Like the auditorium.
Right, and classrooms. So what we're trying to use, maybe use the entire school compound. And so at some level of distance in between the different polling stations. So we're looking at all of that. We're going to seek to do a continuous sanitization of the polling station during the course of the day. And we are looking to do something different in this election. It's still legal in the sense of how do we administer the ink. Currently, the standard thing that you'll do is to dip your finger in the bottle of the ink.
Yes.
There's a possibility if the person might have any virus, they might be transmitting that virus in the bottle of the ink. So we're looking at something different. And one of the options that we're looking at is whether or not we spray that finger with the ink rather than allow you to dip in the ink. So we're looking at some alternatives to deal with those issues. So we are looking at a number of things. We started having discussion with the Ministry of Health so as to sign off on that protocol that we'll be using on election day. So we are looking at a number of things to make, so at least it gives some level of comfort to the elector that they will be safe.
Okay. How much more this is costing you?
It's significantly more than what we normally do. Our rough calculation is close to in excess of $60-70 million in addition.
In terms of the expenses?
Additional costs, yes.
For example, your sanitization teams.
Right.
You have 63 constituencies.
Right, and we have close to
thousands of polling stations.
Right, close to 7,000 polling stations.
So how many more workers are you going to take on?
And that we're looking at about a little bit under 4,000. In the sense that because a cluster, for example, a cluster that has 15 stations would not necessarily have one per station, but a group of persons to deal with that. Maybe it's 5 for that cluster of 15.
Yeah.
So we're looking at about an additional 4,000 persons.
And you're still going to continue to use the so-called one-day policeman?
That will continue. Right.
In greater numbers?
In greater numbers, they will assist us in terms of administering all the sanitization features that we're going to implement on the day.
Yeah. Going to the list. Yes?
Right.
The current list that is valid. When was the close-off date for that?
All right, the current list, that in case an election is called by the Prime Minister anytime now, the current list was published in November last year. We are now working on a new list. That list should have been published at the end of May, but because of the COVID issue, we had to delay it in the sense that we weren't able to complete our verification because of the whole public interaction between our staff and the wider public, so that was delayed. A decision was made to publish that list on the 31st of July. So it depends on when the election is called. If the election is called based on ROPA, 5 clear days before nomination.
ROPA being the representation of the People's Act. Right. Yes. If it's called what?
If it is for you to use that July 31st list, the election would have to be the nomination have to be that list would have to be published 5 clear days prior to nomination date.
Okay, so nomination day would have had to be beyond August 6th. If it's published July 31, and you need 5 clear days before, nomination day can't be before August 6th.
Well, it allows it if it's published within. So it list has to be 5 clear days. So
before nomination day.
Right.
So and it is going to be published on July 31.
Right.
Yeah, and by 5 clear days, you're talking working days, including weekends?
It includes Saturdays, based on how the ROPA defines clear days.
Okay. So the nomination day can't be before August.
It has to be around that time.
Yes. And the Prime Minister has given a commitment that he won't have general elections until the states of emergency have been expired. And those are due to come to an end on the 25th of July.
Well, yes, that's in the press.
Yes. You see, we're trying to narrow down the window.
Yeah, but...
you won't go there with me.
No, we don't speculate on this.
But Prime Ministers usually give directors of election a heads up. Please be ready for so-and-so, don't they?
Normally, there's some amount of communication, yes.
Have you had that communication?
I won't tell you that. But suffice to say, though, that on the commission...
Have you had the communication?
Suffice to say that on the commission, there are 2 representatives that represents the government, who are, in effect, represent the Prime Minister.
Yes.
And we have consultation from time to time, yes.
So you have had the communication, you have had the signal?
We have a discussion, yes.
Tell me now, the numbers of voters on the list.
All right, the current list, that's the November list, there's 1.8 million. The list to be published in July, I must be a net of about 25,000 persons additional on the list.
That will be on the list of July 31. Right. 1.8 million.
Right, it's roughly 1.8 now, so they're a little bit under 1.9.
Okay, and when you refreshed or re-verified the list, what was the net gain from last year?
And it's average about, for each phase, about 25,000.
Okay.
Each phase, on average. But in November last year, we took off a significant amount of persons who died. Roughly 91,000 persons were removed from the list in November.
Yes.
So when you compare to 2016, there's an increase, marginal increase, over what it was then.
All right. Tell me, are you not concerned about the low voter turnout we've been having in the country?
It's a concern, certainly of the concern of the Commission, and we have been looking at it. Certainly the Commission have asked us to put a program that will sort of deal with encouraging the electors to come out, and we anticipate that with our robust PR program going into the election, that we're going to try and do something to try and encourage persons there. But the issue of vote apathy is normally calculated based on a percentage of the persons who turn out to vote against what is on the list. So one has to be careful in terms of the base that is used. A number of the persons on including among the base with persons who have died or persons who have migrated, etc. So it's sort of distort in terms of that figure.
Yeah.
So one has to be careful in terms of how you use that figure to calculate voter turnout.
Right. And you have your budget?
The budget is in place. It was approved. The last exercise with $2.5 billion was approved for both elections, that is. We anticipate for a general election by itself would cost us about $1.5 billion. And the local government will be about $1 billion.
Oh. Yeah. And any chance of having 2-in-1, both the general and local?
The discussion is taking place, so we are waiting to see what will happen. It's going to impact on 2 issues. One is the operational side, and the one is the legislative side. The legislative side would have to be dealt with by the policymakers and the legislature. In terms of the operational side, that's our responsibility. In terms of the EOJ, in the sense that our mandate is to run a good election, an efficient election. From our standpoint, though, we think we have the competence and the capability to run both elections on the same day. The only proviso for me is for us to get the adequate notice. And we would want to extend, would love to see an extension of the time between nomination day and election day. Currently, ROPA limits the time. It says that the minimum between nomination day and election day is 16 days, with a maximum of 23. We'd want that to change, the minimum to change to about 30 days.
30?
Yeah.
You got more printing of material?
Correct. Normally would basically be printing 2 million ballots. Now we'd have to print 4 million ballots.
Oh.
And there are a number of other things that you would normally have to do in addition to what you would normally do. So therefore the additional time would be required.
Okay. Thank you very much. Glasspool Brown, Director of Elections. You're going to be a very busy man in the coming weeks.
Yes, I would hope just to say to your listeners that the opportunity is there for persons who want to serve and to be a part of the process,
Yes.
to be involved in the process. Just by contacting us at EOJ at 43 Duke Street. I think our toll-free number is 1-888-991-VOTE.
All right, 1-888-991-VOTE. If you want to work as a presiding officer or a poll clerk, whatever you would like to contribute to having a free and fair election in Jamaica. The numbers 1-888-991-VOTE, or you can contact them physically at their headquarters at 43
Or any
Duke Street.
constituency office.
Good. Thank you very much, sir. All right.
Good.
Good. That's COVID-19 and you for today. Goodbye.
The Contractor Center. Get your hands on a wide range of tools and equipment. Visit our store at 26 Shortwood Road or call us 876-344-8784 or 876-925-5700.